Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the International Tennis Federation and our hosts, BNP Paribas, I would like to welcome you to the draws for the 2018 Davis Cup and Fed Cup by BNP Paribas. This is the first time that the draws for the ITF's two flagship competitions have been held alongside one another. I would like to welcome everyone gathered here at the London offices of BNP Paribas, as well as everyone viewing the live stream on the Davis Cup and Fed Cup websites and social media accounts. We have a selection of signed prizes that we'll be giving away to virtual viewers who comment on the live stream. So make sure all those in live stream land that you're getting involved so to be in with a chance for some of these fabulous prizes. Davis Cup, with 134 nations taking part in 2017, remains the largest annual international team competition in sport, while Fed Cup, with 107 nations entered this year, is the largest annual international team competition for women. We're fresh from a fantastic weekend of Davis Cup by BNP Paribas action, in which France and Belgium have booked their places in November's final, with wins over Serbia and Australia, respectively. It was also an exciting weekend of playoff action, with Canada, Croatia, Germany, Hungary, Japan, Kazakhstan, the Netherlands, and Switzerland all qualifying for the 2018 Davis Cup World Group. Today, we will conduct the draws for the 2018 Fed Cup World Group and World Group 2, as well as the 2018 Davis Cup World Group, Asia-Oceania Zone Groups 1 and 2, Americas Zone Group 1 and 2, and Europe-Africa Zone Group 1. I'll be asking questions later on those two groups. The draw for Davis Cup Europe-Africa Zone Group 2 will be held following the conclusion of the Europe-Africa Zone Group 1 tie between Israel and Romania, and that'll be held in October. We welcome some representatives from our international sponsors and media partner here today, as well as some National Association representatives. We also have some dignitaries here, including members of the Davis Cup Board of Directors and committee members. Allow me to introduce from the Fed Cup Committee, Ingrid Lofthal-Benzer. We also have members of the Davis Cup Committee, Armando Savone and Ismail El Shafei. And we welcome from the ITF Board of Directors and Vice Presidents, Renee Stambach and Anil Khanna, as well as Mary Pierce, Mark Woodford, Sergio Elias, Alexei Selivanenko, joining us this afternoon. And from the Davis Cup and Fed Cup Task Force, Gavin Crooks. All the board and committee members have extensive knowledge of tennis administration as well as excellent on-court experience. Please now, may I welcome Anne-Marie Verstraeten of BNP Paribas Group Country Head UK to say a few words on behalf of BNP Paribas.
Thank you, Craig. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the ITF, tennis friends. First and foremost, thank you very much for honoring us again with your presence today. We very much loved it last year, and we are delighted that you came back. This is the 43rd consecutive year that BNP Paribas has supported tennis. And over that time, we have grown to the #1 sponsor worldwide. It's a relationship of which we are really proud and which we really enjoy. I think that's quite visible here this afternoon. More importantly, I would say it is one of those dimensions that BNP Paribas shares with our clients, and they have grown accustomed to it, and they tell us every time how much they enjoy it. Not least, of course, because the Davis Cup and Fed Cup in 2017, again, have absolutely proved to be one of the foremost competitions in world sport. The sparkling tennis we have witnessed this past season has been fabulous. And of course, when we talk as bankers about how we have to renew ourselves, I truly think that based on what we have seen in the tennis sport as of late, and again, this year, we truly have an example of how one can keep going and renew oneself in the course of that. Now, with what's coming, I'm sure that you know that the finals have resulted really in a fabulous situation for BNP Paribas, considering that both France and Belgium are, of course, core markets of ours. So that's looking good, even though I have to share with you that as a person, I feel slightly ambiguous about it because I'm Belgian, head of a French bank. So I count on the organizers to help me out, and I already got a little hint of how that might happen. So what's good for the tournament is good for tennis and is good for BNP Paribas, our brand. So thank you again that you are here this afternoon. We are delighted, and we hope that everything will go well, and we'll be here to support the ongoings. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Now I'd like to welcome the President of the International Tennis Federation, Mr. Dave Haggerty, to the stage.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our hosts, BNP Paribas, for your support of tennis and of Davis Cup and Fed Cup by BNP Paribas. So let's get right into action. You don't want to hear from me. I think what you want to see are who are the nations and who they're going to be playing. So I think it's time to get on to the draw. So do I bring Soren up? Please, thank you.
Thank you very much. And we start with the Fed Cup World Group 2 draw. And the nations are Australia, Canada, Italy, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, Spain, and Ukraine. And for this draw, I would like to ask to come on stage Mary Pierce, please. And we start with the two seeded nations. Russia is the number 1 seed on line 1. And Italy as the number 2 seed on line 8. Now we're going to draw between the number 3 and the number 4, between Ukraine and Romania. First, going on line 3. Just open. Okay. Ukraine. Yep. And on line 6, Romania. Thank you. Now we're going to draw the remaining nations, Australia, Canada, Slovakia, and Spain, all from top to bottom. Playing against Russia. Slovakia.
Choice of ground, Slovakia.
Slovakia hosting against Russia. Playing against Ukraine. Australia.
Choice of ground to Australia.
Australia hosting against Ukraine, playing against Romania. Canada.
Choice of ground to Romania.
Romania hosting against Canada and playing against Italy. Spain.
Choice of ground to Italy.
Italy will host Spain in February. Thank you very much. Now moving on to the Fed Cup World Group. And the nations are Belarus, Belgium, Czech Republic, France, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, and USA. And for this draw, I would like to ask Ingrid Lofter-Benzer to come on stage. Thank you. And we start again with the top two seeds. Belarus on line 1. And the number 2 seeded nation, USA, on line 8. And for 2018, regarding the home and aways, the two finalists, Belarus and USA, have the option to select choice of grounds in the first round. Now we're going to draw between the number 3 and the number 4, between Czech Republic and France. Same as before, the first one going to be drawn on line 3. Czech Republic. Thank you. And on line 6, France. I'm going to draw the remaining nations: Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland. And again, the same procedure from top to bottom. Belarus playing against Germany.
Choice of ground by lot.
Choice of ground, just 1 second. Thank you. Choice of ground by lot. That means we decide top or bottom if Belarus or Germany is going to host. No? Top. Belarus hosting against Germany. Playing against the Czech Republic. Switzerland.
Choice of ground to the Czech Republic.
Czech Republic hosting against Switzerland. Against France. Belgium.
Choice of ground to France.
Choice of ground, France.
To France.
Choice of ground to France. France hosting against Belgium. And USA playing against the Netherlands.
Choice of ground to the Netherlands.
Netherlands hosting against the USA. Moving on to the Davis Cup, starting with America's Zone 2. The following nations: Venezuela, Bolivia, El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, Peru, Puerto Rico, and Uruguay. And for this draw, I would like to ask Ismail El-Shafei to come on stage. And we start with the two seeded nations. The number 1 seed on line 1, and this is Venezuela. And the number 2 seeded nation, Peru, on line 8. Now we're going to draw between the number 3 and number 4, El Salvador and Mexico. First on line 3. El Salvador. And on line 6, Mexico. Thank you. In this group, we have a special situation because Mexico and Guatemala have played each other twice in the last 2 years. So Guatemala will be drawn in the opposite side of the draw, so in the top half, on line 2 or 4. And to decide on which line, we're going to use the top and bottom. So top will be line 2, bottom will be line 4. It's top, so Guatemala on line 2. We're going to draw the 3 remaining nations, Bolivia, Puerto Rico,
Choice of ground, Guatemala.
Oh, sorry. Guatemala hosting against Venezuela. Thank you. The 3 remaining nations, Bolivia, Puerto Rico, and Uruguay. El Salvador playing against Uruguay.
Choice of ground to El Salvador.
El Salvador hosting against Uruguay, playing against Mexico. Puerto Rico.
Choice of ground to Mexico.
Mexico hosting against Puerto Rico. And Peru playing against Bolivia.
Choice of ground to Bolivia.
Bolivia hosting against Peru. Next draw will be Asia, Oceania Zone Group 2, and the nations are Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, China, Indonesia, Iran, Lebanon, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And for this draw, I would like to ask Alexei Selivanikot to come onto the stage. Thank you. Start again with the number 2 and the number 1 and the number 2 in that group. Thailand as a number 1 seed on line 1. And Chinese Taipei as a number 2 seeded nation on line 8. Now we're going to draw number 3 and number 4, Philippines and Hong Kong, China, on line 3 and 6. First one to be drawn on line 3. Perfect. Thank you. Philippines. And on line 6, Hong Kong, China. I'm going to draw the 4 remaining nations, Indonesia, Iran, Lebanon, and Sri Lanka from top to bottom, playing against Thailand. Is Sri Lanka.
Choice of ground, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka hosting against Thailand. Yes, next one, against the Philippines. Indonesia.
Choice of ground to Indonesia.
Indonesia hosting against Philippines, against Hong Kong, now Hong Kong, China playing against Iran.
Choice of ground to Hong Kong, China.
Hong Kong, China hosting against Iran and playing against Chinese Taipei. Lebanon.
Choice of ground to
Thank
Lebanon.
you very much. That's it. Thank you. Moving on to Americas Zone Group 1 with the following nations: Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, and Barbados. And for this draw, I would like to ask Mark Woodford to come on stage. And we start with the number 1 seed. It's Argentina on line 1. And the number 2 seeded nation is Brazil on line 8. With 7 nations, there is 1 bye, and the bye goes to Argentina as the number 1 seeded nation. And also in this group, we have a special rule for Chile and Dominican Republic, as they have played each other twice in the last 2 years. So they're going to be drawn in different halves, starting with line 3. Nation going to be drawn now will go on line 3. It will be Chile or Dominican Republic. Chile. And then Dominican Republic. And to decide if Dominican Republic will go on line 5 or line 7, I'm use the top and bottom again. So Dominican Republic on top or bottom. Bottom, so Dominican Republic on line 7. And we have the 3 remaining nations.
Choice of ground by lot.
By lot. Here we go. Top or bottom, Dominican Republic or Brazil? Top, Dominican Republic hosting against Brazil. Now the 3 remaining nations, Barbados, Colombia, and Ecuador. Starting with the first one against Chile. Ecuador.
Choice of ground to Chile.
Chile hosting against Ecuador on line 5 now. Colombia. And on line 6, Colombia playing Barbados.
Choice of ground to Barbados.
Barbados hosting against Colombia. Thank you very much. Moving on to Asia-Oceania Zone Group 1 with China Republic, India, Korea Republic, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Uzbekistan. And for this draw, I would like to ask Armando Cervona to come on stage. We start with the number 1 seeded nation on line 1, it's India. And the number 2 seed in that group is Uzbekistan on line 8. Having 6 nations in this group, there are going to be 2 byes to the 2 seeded nations on line 2 and on line 7. We're going to draw the 4 remaining nations, China Republic, Korea Republic, New Zealand, and Pakistan. On line 3, China Republic, playing against New Zealand.
Choice of ground to China Republic.
China Republic hosting against New Zealand on line 5. Korea Republic. Playing against on line 6. Pakistan.
Choice of ground to Pakistan.
Pakistan hosting against Korea Republic. Thank you very much. The next group is Europe, Africa, Zone Group 1, and the nations are Austria, Belarus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Czech Republic, Portugal, Russia, Slovakia, South Africa, Sweden, Ukraine, and the winner of the tie, Israel-Romania, which will be played in October. And for this draw, I would like to ask René Stambach and Anil Kana to come on stage, please. We start with the top seed again, Czech Republic on line 1. And the number 2 seeded nation is Russia on line 16. Now we're going to draw the number 3 and number 4, Slovakia and Portugal on line 5 and on line 12. René, do you want to run it, please? Portugal on line 5. And on line 12, we have Slovakia. 11 nations are in this group. That means we have 4 byes for the 4 seeded nations on line 2, 6, 11, and 15. And there's one more bye left, which was drawn yesterday on line 9. In addition, the board of directors decided that Russia and Ukraine should be in different halves. As Russia is on the bottom half, Ukraine will be drawn in the top half, either going to be on line 3 or on line 7. So we're going to use top and bottom. Ukraine either going on line 3 or on line 7. On line 7, Ukraine. Now we have the remaining nations, Austria, Belarus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, South Africa, Sweden, and the winner of Israel against Romania. Starting line 3. South Africa. Playing against the winner of Israel-Romania.
If against Israel, the choice of ground goes to South Africa.
Just a second.
If against Romania, choice of ground goes to Romania.
Okay. On line, drawing the next one, on line 8, playing against Ukraine. Sweden.
Choice of ground to Ukraine.
Ukraine will host against Sweden, and playing on line 10 now, we have Bosnia-Herzegovina playing against Slovakia.
Choice of ground by lot.
Choice of ground by lot. So either Bosnia-Herzegovina or Slovakia are going to host, top or bottom. Bottom, Slovakia hosting against Bosnia-Herzegovina. On line 13, Austria. Thank you. And on line 14, Belarus.
Choice of ground to Austria.
Austria will host against Belarus. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to the lead world group. And the nations are Australia, Belgium, Canada, Croatia, France, Germany, Great Britain, Hungary, Italy, Japan, Kazakhstan, Netherlands, Serbia, Spain, Switzerland, and USA. And this draw I would like to ask Dave Haggerty and Anne-Marie Verstraeten to come on stage. We start with the number 1 and the number 2 seeds, the finalists of 2017, France and Belgium, with France being the top seed on line 1, and Belgium on line 16. And also, same for Fed Cup, we have for 2018, the 2 finalists, France and Belgium, have the option to select choice of ground. Now we're going to draw the number 3 and number 4, Great Britain and Croatia on line 5 and on line 12. So the first to be drawn on line 5. Great Britain. And on line 12. Croatia. Now we have number 5 and number 6, Switzerland and Australia. On line 7 and on line 10. First one to be drawn on line 7, Dave. Australia. On line 7 and on line 10. Switzerland. Seeds 7 and 8, Serbia and Italy on line 3 and 14, starting with line 3. Italy on line 3. And on line 14, Serbia. We're going to draw the remaining nations: Canada, Germany, Hungary, Japan, Kazakhstan, Netherlands, Spain, and USA from top to bottom, starting with France. Against France. Netherlands.
Choice of ground to France.
France possibly will host next year in February, playing against Italy. Japan.
Choice of ground by lot.
Japan and Italy decide who will host in February. Top or bottom? Bottom, Japan hosting against Italy. Great Britain. Spain.
Choice of ground to Spain.
Spain will host against Great Britain next year in February. Australia. Germany.
Choice of ground to Australia.
Australia hosting against Germany in February. Switzerland will play against Kazakhstan.
Choice of ground to Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan will host against Switzerland. Croatia. Canada.
Choice of ground by lot.
Croatia and Canada to decide who will host in February. Bottom, Croatia hosting against Canada. Serbia playing against. USA.
Choice of ground to Serbia.
Serbia hosting against the USA, and Belgium playing against Hungary.
Choice of ground to Hungary.
Hungary will host Belgium first round next year. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you.
Fascinating matchups there. Now, on behalf of the International Tennis Federation, I thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We look forward to the two finals in Minsk, Belarus for the Fed Cup and in Lille, France for the Davis Cup, and an exciting first round of ties in the 2018 Davis Cup and Fed Cup by BNP Paribas, the World Cups of tennis. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.